She said I was the one thing she couldn't stay away from, and in that moment, I realized I didn't want her to. I first noticed her on a Tuesday afternoon. It wasn't dramatic. No lightning strike, no music swelling in the background, just a quiet moment that somehow lodged itself deep inside me. The cafe was half empty, sunlight pouring through tall windows, dust floating lazily in the beams. She sat alone at a corner table, a paperback balanced in her hands, untouched coffee cooling beside her. She wasn't trying to be seen. In fact, everything about her posture suggested she was perfectly comfortable being invisible to the world. And yet I saw her. She had long, dark black hair that framed her face in soft waves, and the light caught faint smile lines at the corners of her eyes. A curving grace in her posture made her presence both calm and commanding. She wasn't young in the way most people describe beauty, but something about her made youth feel irrelevant. She carried herself with the kind of quiet confidence that comes only with time, with knowing who you are. I don't know how long I stared before I realized I was staring. She looked up from her book, and for the briefest second, our eyes locked. It should have been nothing, a glance between strangers, but there was something in it that unsettled me. Her gaze lingered just a heartbeat longer than polite, and when the faintest smile curved her lips, it felt deliberate, like she'd been waiting for me to notice. I busied myself with my notebook, pretending to write something important, though my pen barely moved across the page. But I could feel her there, a presence that tugged at me even when I tried to ignore it. Every few moments, I caught myself glancing in her direction, only to find her eyes slipping back to her book, as if she knew exactly what I was doing. When I finally stood to leave, fate, or something like it, stepped in. She dropped her pen, and it rolled across the wooden floor to stop just short of my foot. I bent to pick it up, holding it out to her. She looked up at me fully this time, dark brown eyes meeting mine with a steadiness that stole the air from my lungs. "Thank you," she said, her voice warm but low, like she was speaking only to me. I nodded, but for a moment I couldn't find words. My hand brushed hers as she took the pen, just the faintest contact, but it was enough. My skin tingled where it met hers, and I felt a strange, impossible thought flicker through my mind. Don't walk away. But I did. I forced myself to. I walked out into the brightness of the day with my heart unsettled, my chest heavier than when I'd come in. I told myself it was just a stranger, just a passing glance. And yet, as I stepped in the street, I already knew the truth. I was going to see her again. The second time we crossed paths, it didn't feel accidental. At least, not to me. It was 3 days later, the same cafe, late morning. I walked in carrying the weight of a restless night and too much unspoken thought. And there she was again. Same corner table, same coffee she probably wouldn't drink, same unread book lying open like a prop. For a second, I almost turned around and walked out. It felt too strange, too obvious, like stepping back into the same dream. But something in her expression stopped me. She looked up before I'd even ordered, as if she'd been aware of me the moment I opened the door. And then she smiled, just slightly, almost imperceptibly, but it landed like a secret pass between us. This time, I chose a seat not far from hers, close enough to feel her presence, far enough to pretend it wasn't intentional. I told myself I'd sit quietly, drink my coffee, maybe scribble in my notebook. But she broke the silence first. "Do you always write that much?" she asked, nodding toward the notebook in my hand. "Or do you just like the look of it?" Her voice had that same warmth I remembered, smooth but edged with curiosity. I chuckled, caught off guard. "Mostly the look of it," I admitted. "It makes me feel like I know what I'm doing." Her laugh was soft, genuine, and for some reason, it made the room feel smaller, like the rest of the cafe had slipped away. She closed her book, leaning slightly across the small space between us, her hair falling over her shoulder. "At least you're honest. That's rare." The conversation flowed easier than I expected. We talked about books neither of us had finished, about how the world feels too loud sometimes, about small, ordinary things that somehow felt extraordinary because she was the one saying them. Every time her eyes lingered on mine, I felt it, a warmth in my chest, a tug I couldn't explain. And then there were the small touches, Accidental, maybe. Our hands brushed when she slid her cup closer to the edge of the table. Her shoulder leaned toward me, just slightly, when she laughed. Her fingers grazed mine when she pointed at a line in my notebook I hadn't even realized she was reading. Each touch was fleeting, but the echoes lingered long after. I told myself not to overthink it, not to read too much into gestures that could mean nothing. But there was no mistaking the way her gaze softened when she looked at me. No mistaking the way her voice lowered when she asked about my life, as though my answer mattered more than it should. When I finally stood to leave, she looked up with that same subtle smile I'd first noticed. "See you around," she said. Not if, but see. And walking out into the sunlight, I couldn't stop replaying the way she said it, like she already knew I'd be back. At the heart of every relationship, whether it's a romantic bond, a friendship, or even a family connection, lies one crucial element: communication. It is through communication that we share our emotions, dreams, fears, and even disagreements. Without it, no relationship can grow or survive. Often, people believe love alone is enough to hold two individuals together. But love without communication is like a tree without roots. It cannot stand for long. Communication provides the soil where trust, respect, and understanding can grow. And it's this foundation that transforms ordinary connections into extraordinary relationships. One of the most powerful aspects of communication is its ability to build emotional intimacy. When two people open up and talk honestly about their thoughts and feelings, it creates a safe space where vulnerability is not seen as weakness, but as strength. Sharing personal stories, worries, or even day-to-day experiences allows individuals to feel valued and heard. This emotional closeness strengthens the bond because both sides know they are not alone in their journey. A simple conversation at the end of the day, asking about each other's highs and lows, can make the difference between a weak connection and a deeply rooted one. Another transformative effect of communication is its role in conflict resolution. Every relationship, no matter how strong, will face challenges and disagreements. Misunderstandings are natural, but how they are handled determines whether the relationship breaks or grows stronger. Effective communication allows people to discuss issues openly without resorting to blame or silence. Instead of bottling up emotions or avoiding hard conversations, healthy communication encourages honesty, patience, and active listening. It helps partners or friends to address the root of the issue, understand each other's perspectives, and move forward with renewed trust. Furthermore, communication fosters growth in relationships. When two people communicate about their goals, values, and aspirations, they align themselves in the same direction. They support each other's dreams and work together to overcome obstacles. Without open dialogue, assumptions and misunderstandings can create distance. With it, a sense of partnership is formed where both sides feel they're building something meaningful together. Growth in relationships doesn't just happen naturally. It requires intentional effort, and communication is the key that unlocks it. Equally important is the role of nonverbal communication. Words carry weight, but actions, gestures, tone, and even silence can speak louder. A comforting hug, a reassuring smile, or simply being present during tough times communicates care and love without needing words. Being mindful of these subtle signals ensures that what is spoken and what is shown align with one another. Ultimately, communication is not just about talking. It's about connection. It is about listening, understanding, and creating a bridge between two hearts. It has the power to heal wounds, prevent unnecessary misunderstandings, and deepen love. A relationship built on communication is resilient, adaptable, and capable of enduring life storms. In truth, communication is not just an element of relationships. It is the lifeline that sustains them. Trust is the invisible thread that holds every relationship together. Without it, even the strongest emotions or grandest gestures of love lose their meaning. Trust is not something that appears overnight. It is built slowly, piece by piece, through actions, consistency, and honesty. When trust is present, relationships flourish because both individuals feel safe, respected, and understood. When it is broken, however, even the deepest love can struggle to survive. That is why trust is often called the cornerstone of relationships. It is the very foundation upon which everything else rests. The significance of trust lies in the sense of security it creates. When you trust someone, you believe that they will not harm you, betray you, or intentionally cause you pain. This belief allows you to open your heart and be vulnerable, knowing that the other person will protect that vulnerability instead of taking advantage of it. In a world where so many people guard their emotions, the ability to fully trust another is both rare and powerful. It is what transforms a relationship from casual companionship into a safe haven. Trust also plays a central role in building emotional stability. Without it, insecurity and doubt begin to creep in. Constantly questioning someone's intentions or fearing betrayal places a heavy strain on any connection. On the other hand, when trust is strong, there is no need for suspicion or unnecessary worry. You can focus on growth, love, and shared experiences, rather than wasting energy on fear. In this way, trust brings peace of mind and strengthens the emotional bond between two people. One of the key elements in developing trust is consistency. Words alone are not enough. They must be supported by actions. When promises are kept, when small commitments are honored, and when behavior remains steady over time, trust deepens. For example, simply being reliable, showing up when you say you will, listening when you're needed, or offering help without being asked, communicates far more than empty assurances ever could. These small acts create a pattern that assures the other person, "You can depend on me." Forgiveness also plays a role in trust. No one is perfect, and mistakes are inevitable. What matters is how those mistakes are handled. If someone acknowledges their error, apologizes sincerely, and makes genuine efforts to change, trust can be rebuilt. It may not happen overnight, but with patience and commitment, even broken trust can be restored. This process not only repairs the relationship, but often makes it stronger because both individuals learn the value of resilience and honesty. Ultimately, trust is not about control, it's about freedom. It allows both people to be themselves without fear of judgment or betrayal. It creates a partnership where transparency is natural and both sides feel confident in sharing their true selves. Trust transforms relationships into safe spaces where love can grow without limits. In the end, love may bring two people together, but trust is what keeps them together. Without trust, love weakens. With it, love becomes unshakable, standing strong against time, distance, and challenges. That is why trust is not just an important aspect of relationships. It is their very heartbeat. Vulnerability is often seen as weakness, but in reality, it is one of the strongest bridges that connect two people on a deep, emotional level. To be vulnerable means to expose your true self, the unpolished, imperfect, and honest version that you might usually hide from the world. In relationships, vulnerability is essential because it allows genuine intimacy to flourish. Without it, connections remain surface level, built only on appearances or guarded emotions. Many people fear vulnerability because it comes with the risk of rejection, judgment, or even betrayal. Sharing your true feelings, insecurities, or dreams can feel like handing someone the power to hurt you. That fear can make us hide behind masks, pretend we are stronger than we are, or keep emotions locked away. However, avoiding vulnerability prevents true closeness. A relationship without vulnerability becomes hollow, where both people show only their best sides but never truly see each other for who they are. When vulnerability is embraced, it transforms relationships. Imagine the courage it takes to say, "I'm scared of losing you," or "I don't feel good enough sometimes." These confessions are not about weakness. They are about trust and authenticity. By being open, you invite the other person to step closer, to understand, and to share their own truths. This mutual openness creates a bond where both individuals feel seen and accepted for who they truly are. One of the most beautiful aspects of vulnerability is the way it deepens trust. When someone reveals their fears, failures, or flaws, they are essentially saying, I trust you enough to handle the most fragile parts of me. If that trust is honored with empathy and care, the relationship grows stronger. Instead of judgment, there is compassion. Instead of pulling away, there is closeness. In these moments, love proves itself to be more than just admiration. It becomes acceptance. Navigating vulnerability without fear also means creating a safe space for the other person. It requires listening without judgment, responding with patience, and showing that you value their honesty. A relationship thrives when both people feel free to say, "This is who I am," without the need to hide. That safety doesn't appear overnight. It develops slowly through kindness, reassurance, and consistent respect. Of course, vulnerability does not mean oversharing every detail or exposing yourself recklessly. It means choosing the right moments, being honest about what truly matters, and allowing closeness to grow naturally. Balance is important. Vulnerability must be paired with self-respect. You open your heart not out of desperation, but because you value the bond and want to deepen it. The real beauty of vulnerability is that it turns love into something enduring. Infatuation may begin with excitement, attraction, or charm, but only vulnerability allows two people to truly understand one another. When walls come down, hearts connect. The relationship becomes more than just companionship. It becomes a partnership where struggles, fears, and dreams are shared openly. In the end, vulnerability is not weakness. It is courage in its purest form. It is the decision to be real, even when it is uncomfortable. It is the willingness to risk being hurt for the chance of being truly loved. When both people embrace vulnerability, love becomes unshakable because it is built not on perfection, but on truth. One of the most universal struggles in love is the quiet war between what feels right and what is deeply desired. It is not always a clash of morality and immorality, but often a tug-of-war between reason and emotion, logic and longing. We may find ourselves in situations where our hearts are pulled towards someone who ignites feelings we never expected, yet our minds whisper reminders of responsibilities, circumstances, or consequences. This inner conflict can be especially intense in relationships marked by age differences, cultural divides, or unexpected dynamics. On one hand, desire speaks loudly, urging us to surrender, to simply live in the beauty of the connection. Desire doesn't calculate risks, it lives in the now. It is fueled by closeness, glances that linger too long, words that stay in our minds for days, and the warmth of touches that feel like they were meant to happen. Desire makes everything brighter, as though the world tilts slightly when the other person is near. On the other hand, the voice of reason weighs heavily. It reminds us of how others may perceive the bond, of the challenges that lie ahead, of the sacrifices that might be demanded. Reason insists that desire can be fleeting, that choices have consequences, and that love requires more than passion to endure. This voice is not wrong. It is protective, pragmatic, and often necessary. Yet, reason alone cannot satisfy the human spirit. A relationship without desire feels empty, lifeless, as though something essential is missing. This is where the real tension arises, when two truths exist at once. Desire tells us what could make us feel alive, while reason urges us to think of what will keep us safe. Walking this line requires courage, honesty, and above all, self-awareness. It means asking, is this desire leading me toward growth and fulfillment, or is it only a spark that may burn out? Is this choice aligned with my values, or am I chasing something that may hurt me in the long run? For love to thrive, there must be a balance. A relationship cannot be built only on reason, because love requires passion, spontaneity, and desire. Yet it also cannot rest solely on desire, because love must endure storms, responsibilities, and the passage of time. The healthiest love stories are those where desire and reason find harmony, where the connection feels alive and exciting, but also grounded and sustainable. Navigating this tension often requires vulnerability, open conversations, and honesty about fears and hopes. It means acknowledging the pull of desire while also respecting the voice of reason. Instead of denying one side, both must be embraced. This is not easy. It takes maturity to resist rushing, to allow love to grow naturally without letting either passion or caution dominate completely. Ultimately, the tension between what's right and what's desired is not an obstacle. It is a teacher. It challenges us to know ourselves more deeply, to choose not out of impulse, but out of intention. When love is chosen with both desire and wisdom in mind, it becomes not only thrilling, but lasting. It becomes a bond that honors the heart without ignoring the mind, a connection that feels alive yet stands firm against time. Every great love story eventually narrows down to one defining moment: the choice. Feelings may spark a connection, desire may ignite passion, and circumstances may challenge the bond. But what sustains love is the decision two people make when the world gives them reasons to walk away. It is the moment when all doubts, fears, and hesitations are laid bare, and the question becomes simple yet profound. Will you stay? Staying is not passive. It is not merely drifting along with whatever is happening. It is a conscious, deliberate act of saying, yes, I see the risks. Yes, I feel the fear. Yes, I know the world may not understand. And still, I choose you. This choice carries a depth that fleeting emotions never can. It transforms affection into devotion and turns uncertainty into commitment. For some, the choice to stay may mean standing against social expectations, facing the whispers of friends or the raised eyebrows of family who do not understand the connection. For others, it may mean embracing a life that looks different than what they imagined. New routines, compromises, or sacrifices. But in every case, choosing to stay requires courage. It requires the willingness to step beyond comfort zones and into something more meaningful. What makes this choice powerful is not the absence of doubt, but the presence of conviction. Love does not eliminate fear, it redefines it. Fear becomes a reminder of what could be lost, making the choice to stay even more precious. In that sense, staying is an act of bravery, of valuing the connection more than the uncertainty. It is love's way of saying, I know this will not be easy, but you are worth the difficulty. And it is in the act of staying that love reaches its most transformative stage. Staying creates stability where desire alone cannot. It provides a foundation for intimacy, for building a life not just of fleeting moments, but of shared years. It allows two people to weave their stories together in a way that becomes inseparable, where ordinary days feel extraordinary simply because they are lived together. Choosing to stay is also a promise of growth. Relationships are never static. They evolve. By staying, two people give themselves the chance to grow with each other rather than apart. They allow their bond to deepen through time, to mature in ways that only shared challenges and triumphs can bring. This growth does not mean perfection. It means learning how to love more fully, even when it is hard. At the heart of it all, the choice to stay, despite everything, is the ultimate declaration of love. It is not about ignoring flaws or pretending struggles don't exist. Instead, it is about seeing clearly the beauty and the difficulty, the joy and the weight, and deciding that it is all worth it. It is about recognizing that love is not only a feeling, but a commitment, a decision renewed every single day. And so, the greatest romance does not lie in grand gestures or fleeting sparks, but in the quiet, steady decision to remain, to stay despite the challenges, to stay despite the doubts, to stay because love is not something to run from, it is something to hold on to with both hands.